So, the new season of Attack on Titan has come out recently, and boy, howdy does it look cool. Now, I am a big fan of anime, mostly fan of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but I dabble in other anime. I'm a fan of the Titans. So, I thought it would be fun for today to see if I can make a Titan shifter in Dungeons and Dragons. And I think I figured out how to do it. Now, before we get into this, what makes a Titan shifter? Well, a Titan shifter is a person that can turn into a big person that's kind of ugly and is really strong. Now, how would I go about doing this in Dungeons and Dragons? But before we get into this, I think it's important for us to understand how the different size categories of D&D work. There are 6 different size categories for Dungeons and Dragons characters and creatures. There are tiny creatures, which are about 1 foot tall. There are small creatures, which are about 3 feet tall. This would consist of your halflings, goblins, gnomes, those sorts. Then, at medium, we have most of the other player character races. These would be humans, elves, orcs, drow, those people. Medium-sized creatures are roughly 5 feet to 7 feet tall. Next up, we have large-sized creatures. These are usually mounts like horses or trolls. These are roughly 10 feet tall. At huge size, these things are roughly 15 feet tall. This is where you get stuff like giants. And at gargantuan, this is 30 feet tall creatures. They're big. Now, when I say roughly 15 feet tall for huge sized creatures, this can be anywhere from 15 to 20 feet tall, give or take. How big are titans? The smallest titans are roughly 5 meters tall, or 4 meters tall. Now, if you're a Dungeons and Dragons player or an American, you're very confused. Well, I'm a Canadian. I know the difference between metric and imperial. A meter is roughly 3 feet long. So, a 4 meter tall titan is roughly 12 feet tall. A 10 meter titan is roughly 30 feet tall. A titan is on average 10 meters tall. The average titan is gargantuan in D&D, as big as it gets. But how big can titans get? Titans can get up to 50 meters tall. That's nearly 150 feet. We can't get to those sizes in D&D. In fact, I couldn't even find a way to get us up to gargantuan. However, I did find a way to get us to huge, roughly a 6 meter tall titan or 20 feet in Dungeons and Dragons. Here's how I did it. With the introduction of Tasha's Cauldron of Everything came the new fighter subclass, the Rune Knight. The Rune Knight is super cool. It is an incredibly useful class that I highly suggest everyone play. The main boon of this class is it gives your character the ability to go from whatever size they currently are, whether that be small or medium, to large, with their ability, Giant's Might. Now, what does Giant's Might do, you ask? Well, I got you. Giant's Might. You have learned how to imbue yourself with the might of giants. As a bonus action, you magically gain the following benefits, which last for 1 minute. If you are smaller than large, you become large, along with anything you are wearing. If you lack the room to become large, your size doesn't change. That's important. You have advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws. Once on each of your turns, one of your attacks with a weapon or an unarmed strike can deal an extra 1d6 damage to a target on hit. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. That's pretty cool. I think that's awesome. But how do we get to huge? That only said you get to large. Well, how you do that is via the magic of multi-classing in D&D. You will have to have a 13 in intelligence for this build at minimum requirement. You're going to be starting as a fighter. Hopefully you can get at least 13 in intelligence. I found a way to do it with point buy. And multi-class into wizard for at least 3 levels to get access to 2nd level spell slots. Now, why do we want access to these 2nd level spell slots? Well, it's a good thing I got my books prepared today. We want access to the 2nd level Transmutation Spell, Enlarge Reduce. So, how this works, if you cast, it is a concentration spell. This is important. It lasts up to 1 minute and it costs an action. The target size doubles in all dimensions and its weight is multiplied by 8. This growth increases its size by 1 category from medium to large. For example, if there isn't enough room for the target to double its size, a creature object maintains the maximum possible size. Until the spell ends, the target also has advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws. The target's weapons also grow to match its new size. While these weapons are enlarged, the target's attacks with them deal an extra 1d4 extra damage. So, that's cool. Enlarge Reduce will increase your size by 1 category, regardless of your current size. Now, if you remember back to the Rune Knight, you had to be at least it will only increase you to large and it costs a bonus action. Now, may I introduce you the combined ability between a wizard and a Rune Knight. You get the Titan Shifter. This will cost both your action and bonus action to do. As your bonus action, which you do first by the way, you activate Giant's Might, increasing your size of your character to large. Then, as your action for the turn, cast the spell Enlarge Reduce, increasing you to huge, allowing you to be the palpable size of a 6-meter Titan, or a 20-foot tall creature. Now, you might be saying, well, that's all cool and all, but how good is it? Well, I have found a way to make it feel exceptionally good. So, now that we know what classes we're doing, how do we do this? Well, using the point buy system for your stats, here's what you're gonna get. A 15 in strength, a 10 in dexterity, a 15 in constitution, a 13 in intelligence, a 10 in wisdom, and a charisma of 8. Now those stats are your base stats. Now what race do you choose? I chose the variant human because they're just so dang good. Now with the variant human, you can add 1 point to 2 different stats. I have chosen strength and constitution, increasing your scores, strength 16 and a constitution of 16 as well. And then you also get a feat. Now, what feat do we choose? This is where this build all comes together before it's even started. Choose the skill expert feat. This will give you 1 more skill point to spend on your class, put that in strength again, an extra proficiency, and expertise. Now, with your fighter, choose the athletics proficiency, put expertise on that. Now, whenever you use a skill check that uses athletics, you can double your proficiency bonus. This is how we're gonna make the ultimate martial arts Titan build. Now, notably, Titans, especially Titan shifters, use lots of martial arts and judo throws and grapples. So we're gonna be making a sort of grappler puncher fighter build, but we'll have to get to that through our different ASIs as we come to them with the fighter class. Level up your Rune Knight to at least, I'd say, level 7. It would be great if you get up to level 10, but for this build, let's just say a nice sizable level 7 will do. Here's what you're gonna get. Here's what you're gonna get at level 7. You have expertise in athletics, proficiency in intimidation, and proficiency in survival. Next, for your fighting style, you're gonna wanna pick the unarmed fighting style. This allows you to punch with a D8 for your damage die, meaning every time you hit an opponent, you roll a D8 and that's your damage. And at the start of each of your turns, you can deal a D4 of damage to one opponent that you are grappling just for free. That sounds like a grappler if you ask me. Next thing we're gonna be taking. Now we also get second wind, which is great just to heal ourselves up, but that's not as cool. At second level, we'll be getting action surge, probably the best ability in Dungeons and Dragons. You have 2 actions on a turn. You may use this feature once per short rest. Next thing we're gonna be getting at third level, Rune Knight. Get that Rune Knight, become a giant. Sign up today. Then at 4th level, we get our ability score improvement, or we get to pick a feat. We are going to be picking the feat Grappler. Now, why do we want Grappler? Well, we're a grapple build. We're a Titan. We're throwing other things around. We're punching stuff. We're being cool and all that. Now, what does Grappler get? You have an advantage on attack rolls against a creature you are grappling. And you can use your action to try and pin a creature grappled by you. To do so, make another grapple check. If you succeed, you and the creature you are both restrained until the grapple ends. Now, how do you grapple an opponent in D&D? A grapple is a special attack that you can make. How you do this is you roll your D20 like a regular attack, but instead of adding your attack modifier, you add your athletics bonus. Now, at the end of this build, we're gonna be a level 10 character, meaning our proficiency bonus is +4. We have expertise in athletics, and we'll have a strength of 18 by the time this build is done. So when we grapple an opponent, we'll get to add +12 to the grapple check. That means if the opponent doesn't have any strength or any dexterity for their acrobatics check, if they roll a 20, we can still out-grapple them with a 9. That is ridiculous. Having a +12 in athletics means we can basically grapple anything. In fact, because we are huge, we'll have advantage on these checks. As we are huge, we can literally grapple any creature in Dungeons and Dragons, because in order to grapple something, you can be no more than 1 size smaller. We're huge. The only thing bigger, there's only 1 size above us, and that's gargantuan. We can grapple the world with this build. Everything can be suplexed and judo thrown with the Titan Shifter build. But we're not done. So, at 5th level, extra attack. We get to make 2 punches a turn. Mwah, bless. Next thing we get, at 6th level, another ASI. Pick up the feat, Tavern Brawler. What does this do? Well, you get to increase your strength or con score by 1 to a maximum of 20. So we're gonna be picking our strength score. Now we have that 18 in strength I was talking about earlier. You're proficient with improvised weapons. That's cool. We could pick up a chair, add our proficiency bonus to the attack roll. Bless. Next thing we get, your unarmed strikes deal a d4 for damage. That's not important, we're already dealing a d8. The d8 will override the d4. When you hit a creature with an unarmed strike or an improvised weapon on your turn, you can use a bonus action to attempt to grapple the target. That is what we wanted, baby! This build is basically in pace. Next, you're going to be taking your 3 levels in Wizard, which are easy to multiclass into because you have 13 in Intelligence. I don't really care what other spells you take, as long as for your 2nd level spells, one of them is Enlarge Reduce. That is all we need. We just want to be able to grow big and be big for as long as possible. Now you might be saying, but Outlaw, how good is this build? Well, it's pretty good overall. It's not crazy ridiculous like the Nuclear Paladin build. The Nuclear Paladin build, by the way, just a quick side note, my Nuclear Paladin builds, by the way, go check them out if you haven't seen them already, are not functional D&D characters, okay? Stop thinking, I'm not advertising. I get it, it's clickbait, it's the hustle. I clickbaited you, whatever, stop being mad about it. But it's not a functional D&D character by any means necessary. The build is just cool to see how much damage you can do. However, this Titan Shifter, in my opinion, is a very functional character. So, how would combat usually look for your average Titan Shifter build? Well, your first turn is going to be spent shifting up to your maximum size. Use your bonus action to become a giant to use your Giant Smite feature, then use your action to cast Enlarge Reduce. This will bring you up to huge. You are now a big force to be reckoned with. Some people will be getting some attacks on you. Use that high con save because you're a fighter in order to maintain concentration on your large size. Next, on your 2nd turn, this is where you can start doing some cool stuff. Use 2 attacks with your unarmed fighting. Bow, bow. Each attack will be dealing an extra d4, and you can add 1 extra d8 on top of that, dealing a total of 3d8 plus 2d4 plus 8. Dealing on average 30 damage per turn. That's really good damage. That is amazing damage for just every single turn. But it gets better. On top of that, you are going to grapple with your bonus action on this turn. Now, how a grapple works in D&D is it's a contested check. You use your athletics against their athletics or acrobatics. Like I said, if they don't have a plus, if they don't have any bonus, even if they have bonuses, you're plus 12 and you have advantage. You are going to grapple them. They don't have a choice. You're also huge. Grab. You got it. Now, action surge. Every single attack against them will have advantage. Bow, bow. That's something you can do. Or you can use your action to pin them, meaning that they can't even move. Or they can't even grab, all their attacks and saving throws will have disadvantage. There's so much you can do. At the start of their next turn, they'll be taking another d4 of damage. In the perfect scenario, if you set this up right, if you've grappled someone, and if you've grappled someone on the last turn, they will be taking, because of all your features and your unarmed fighting, they'll be taking 4d8 from your punches, plus 1d6 plus from your Giant Smite, plus 5d4, because they were grappled the last turn, they take an extra d4 from your grappling, and plus 4d4 because you've attacked them 4 times, and every attack while Enlarged Reduce kit does an extra d4, plus 16, dealing 54 damage. That is an insane turn that you can do with just your average, with a character at level 10. Now, this character was not without their flaws, obviously, but it is super cool to be able to hop into Dungeons and Dragons and feel like a Titan, grabbing things, punching them, smacking around, and just being an all-around big, beefy boy. That is what I like to see in Dungeons and Dragons. If you thought this build was cool, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this with your friends, share this with your DM to let them know that they should fear the might of the Titans. And let me know if you find ways to get to Gargantuan. I genuinely am curious if we can get a character that size. If so, let me know. Side note, it can't use potions or magic items. Otherwise, there is always a way. But thank you guys so much for watching. Share this with your friends. Get the fuck out of my house.